Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about 7 novels that you very assuredly have not heard of. I'm actually so sure of it that we're going to keep a little points system down below in the comments. Give yourself 1 point for every novel you have heard of before me mentioning it, and give yourself 2 points, an additional 2 points, if you have read the novel. I would be shocked. I would be shooketh if you have any points. If anybody watching this video has any points. And I'm not usually like a gamifier. I don't like to gamify things, but I'm going to gamify today and we're going to just go with it. So if you're new to my channel, know that my name is Shelly. I love historical fiction. It's one of my most read genres and often my favorite genre. Like when it comes to the best books of the year, a lot of them tend to be, for me, a lot of them tend to be historical fiction. I like weird historical fiction, and this list is definitely emblematic of my interest in this genre, or it's reflective of my interest in this genre. So if you're new and you're enjoying the vibe, please subscribe, maybe like the video. Without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm a huge fan of a certain book critic living in Boston. And I sometimes will spend my time reading old reviews that he has published or has been posted on the internet. And I went down this deep rabbit trail on the Historical Novel Society website, which reviews historical fiction novels, reading tons and tons of Steve Donahue reviews that he did for this website back in 2015, 2014, around that time period. So I have 7 novels that he has highly recommended, like very enthusiastically recommended, from this time period, from this website. And they all sound really interesting to me. And we're going to start with the least reviewed on Goodreads to like the most popular. So if you're not gaining any points, your best bet is that you're going to get points at the very end of the video. So the first book is Bodto the Apostate. This is by Donald Michael Platt. It has been rated 12 times and reviewed 6 times on Goodreads. And here is what Steve has to say about it. The apostasy alluded to in the title of Donald Michael Platt's excellent new book, Bodto the Apostate, occurred, if contemporary accounts can be believed, on Ascension Day, May 22nd, in the year 838 AD. And it is no small doctrinal matter. On that date, according to quasi-legend Bishop Bodto, chaplain and confessor to both the Emperor Louis the Pious and the Empress Judith, converted to Judaism, took the name Bodto Eleazar and became in an instant the ultimate cautionary tale for the Western divine who thought, as one of Platt's characters puts it while speaking for the overwhelming majority, Jews are the greatest threat to both the unity of our church and empire. They are mendacious, demonic, sons of the devil, each one an antichrist striving to fulfill Satan's will. Jeez, that is intense. In a masterfully controlled narrative, Platt builds up to this amazing moment, taking readers first through Bodto's childhood, upbringing, and rise to power at the height of the 9th century Carolingian Empire, whose kings, princes, prelates, and ordinary people Platt captures in a perfect pitch blend of research and dramatization. By the time the story winds its way to Bodto's momentous decision, I too felt like everything in the world was on the line. A fantastic, thought-provoking novel, very enthusiastically recommended. So why did I choose this novel among the many that I could have chosen? I chose this because I love a book about a real extraordinary person, especially a person that I don't know much about. So I can get like the deep character study of looking at a person through their childhood often and through their life, their upbringing, and then getting to the pivotal moment where they make their mark on history. I like that because it means that I'm going to get, I don't know, at least a couple of decades of historical fiction, that's richly textured, hopefully. But I'm also getting a deep character study of a person. And a really good author will write in, their motivations, their like what drives them, what has refined them to the point where when they make that mark on history, it's all understood. Even if maybe their decision or their character has been misunderstood in the past. I love that kind of thing. The next book is In Liberty's Wake by Alexandra Norland. It has been rated 29 times and it has been reviewed only 13 times. This is like deep cuts in Goodreads. I'm like, these books nobody reads, and I think they sound so good. Here's Steve's review. In Liberty's Wake, Alexandra Norland's remarkably accomplished debut novel takes a familiar theme in American historical fiction, slavery, and moves it to an unfamiliar setting. Not the American Civil War, but the American Revolution. The story opens in 1763 Virginia on the extensive and luxurious James River plantation of the Alden family, and the narrative unfolds over the next 2 tumultuous decades following both the owners of the estate, including strong-willed Arabella Alden, and their slaves who served the family while dreaming of a different life. Norland expertly weaves colonial history into the personal stories of her characters, both real and invented. And as events quickly boil toward upright rebellion against British rule, both masters and slaves are confronted with the sharp new realities, including the prospect of taking up arms in defense of the new self-evident liberties being declared in Philadelphia. Norland steadfastly refuses the temptation to simplify these conflicts, and the result is a tremendously satisfying new take on the American Revolution novel. Enthusiastically recommended. So I was drawn, I am shallow here. I was very drawn to the cover. I love this American Revolution 1700s dress, like this, I don't know, these elaborate dresses with bows on the sleeves and lace down the front. I was very interested in that. But as I read more, I was thinking, oh, slavery and the American Revolution, I thought that was a really interesting combination. And I was like, maybe this would be a really like exciting and juicy read while learning about a part of my own American history that I don't know that much about. The next book is Grindstone by Donna Walsh Inglehart. This has 69 ratings and 7 reviews. So, what? It just amazes me how many books are out there and how many possibly really fantastic books are out there and they just get buried through time. Here's Steve's review. Grindstone, a small island in the St. Lawrence River near the Canadian border, forms the picturesque backdrop for Donna Walsh Inglehart's atmospheric and very moving new novel, Grindstone. On Grindstone, an Irish immigrant, Anya McGregor, living out a lonely existence waiting for her brother Finn to return from the American Civil War. But the Civil War ends up finding its way to Anya. In Inglehart's graceful, confident narrative, a fugitive from the Confederacy enters Anya's life. His name is Jonathan Douglas, and he is one of the incendiaries who set off a series of firebombs in New York City in 1864. Anya and Jonathan are attracted to each other, and Inglehart has set in place a complex web of factors to complicate their story. The novel's various plot lines are smoothly calibrated to touch the heartstrings with well-timed jolts of excitement thrown in. And the book's ending, the fate of Anya's heart, is beautifully realized. Highly recommended. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think of all the books, this sounds the best. This was first published in 2010 and it's only 223 pages. Okay, I'm going to back away from wanting to buy this, but I do want it. But what I liked is that actually, I like that it's a love story, but it also feels a bit, I don't know, I don't want to say thrillery, but kind of has like high stakes romance. That sounds good. And it's like also like remote settings. I like a remote setting. It just sounds really good, y'all. It just sounds very good. The next book has an original title and then an updated title. The original title was Pytor Iliot. The new title is Fate. It has been rated 86 times and has a whopping 14 reviews. Okay, so this is what Steve has to say about it. The tempestuous and controversial life and career of great Russian composer Tchaikovsky is the subject of Dalton's new and ambitious new novel, which follows Pytor Iliot for many years as one after another of his great works flow from his pen. The dramatization of these creative processes is one of the strongest threads running through the book, at times quite thrilling to read. Each more compelling is Dalton's most potentially controversial choice, which is to take the reader into a long-censored and still controversial homosexual life of the composer. Dalton liberally mixes extensive research into Tchaikovsky's daily life with a sensitive, equally well-researched understanding of the musicology of the composer and his peers in 19th century Petersburg. The confident sweep of the novel includes dozens of secondary characters, with the result being one of the best treatments of Tchaikovsky, fiction or non-fiction, ever written in English. The intelligently handled theme of the pre-20th century homosexuality will come as a revelation to many readers. Enthusiastically recommended. Actually, what kind of got me was the Goodreads description. It says, a sexy epic tale of love and music. And I was like, yes. I don't know. There's something about that really kind of like gets me. But I also, another reason why I like it, it's again, fictionalizing a real person, a composer at this point, which I think is great. I also had played piano. I did in my youth. And so I know a good bit about music, or at least I know how to read music. And I think something about music could be really great. I also think 19th century Russia is a fascinating setting for a book. And I like that Steve said that this is one of the best treatments of Tchaikovsky, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, which is very high praise. Very, very high praise from him. We've come to a young adult historical fiction fantasy type blend novel, and it's called The 16 Burdens by David Kaloff. And this is the first book in a series. It has been rated 112 times and has 46 reviews. The 16 Burdens presents readers with an exciting and thrilling inventive mashup of historical fiction and urban fantasy with crime fiction and mystery elements stirred in. The time is late 1939, the so-called golden age of Hollywood, and Khalif's unlikely hero is teen ruffian Gray Studebaker, who peddles maps of the homes of famous movie stars to make a living. As one after another of those stars are targeted for abduction and worse, Gray gets caught up in a behind-the-scenes drama more elaborate and unbelievable than any movie. A backstage world full of dangerous figures wielding superpowers. A world in which Khalif blends obviously extensive research into the lives and personalities of such stars as Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford, with a well-constructed supernatural world in which Gray has more of a pivotal role to play than it first seems likely. The result is a drama full of history, action, and quite a bit of deadpan humor. All of it delivered with winning confidence. Enthusiastically recommended. Okay, I don't know. I like joyful reads. I think that this sounds like an absolutely joyful read. I like that it's geared towards teens. It sounds like a really fun teen novel to recommend. It's going to be more about the humor, the action, the characters, the snippets of old Hollywood facts, all kind of together and all resulting in a super, super, super fun read. And it's not super long. It's only 309 pages. These last two books are the absolutely most famous, most well-known works. And the first is Murder by Misrule by Anne Castle. This is the first in the Francis Bacon mystery series, which goes on for quite a few books. I think at least 5. So if you like it, you'll be able to read more. And it's a historical fiction mystery series, which I love. I've read several. I've started several. I haven't read through several, but I've started several historical fiction mystery series, and I really like them. Here is the review. The clarification of Anne Castle's beguiling debut novel, Murder by Misrule, a Francis Bacon mystery, and although technically accurate, Bacon takes up the investigation into a murder of a fellow lawyer of his at London's famous Gray's Inn. It does a slight disservice to the real star of the book, Bacon's hastily drafted assistant and general all-around fluky, Thomas Clarity. The danger-loving son of a privateer, Clarity is the Archie Goodwin to Bacon's Nero Wolfe, as the two delve the depths of London's back streets and seething Demimonde in search of the killers and traitors, since Bacon's uncle, the Queen's major domo, Lord Burghley, suspects hidden Catholic intrigues everywhere. Castle's period research is thorough but unobtrusive, and her delight in the clashing personalities of her crime-fighting duo is palpable. This is the winning fictional odd couple of the year, with Bacon's near omniscience being effectively grounded by Clarity's street smarts. This book builds effectively to its climax and a last-minute revelation that is particularly well handled, but readers will most appreciate the wry humor, an extremely promising debut. Now, Steve went on to review, I think, a couple more of Castle's novels, and they've all gotten really lovely reviews from him, and so I was like, ooh, I do love a duo. I do love a historical mystery, which is why I decided to choose it to talk about. The final book, and the one that you've probably most likely heard of, or is the likeliest of these possibilities, is The Witch of Napolei by Michael Schumacher. This has been rated 2,847 times and has 373 reviews on Goodreads. Here's the review. Michael Schumacher's novel, The Witch of Napolei, tells the story of a 19th century psychic medium named Alessandra Polaveri, who levitates a table at a spiritual seance in Naples in 1899 and almost immediately becomes the focus of a media circus. Photographer Tommaso Labella and scientist Camillo Labardi embark with Alessandra on an extensive and increasingly stressful publicity tour of Europe, where she performs for believers and doubters alike. England's Society for the Investigation of Mediums seeks to fool and discredit her. The Vatican digs up personal dirt from her past in an attempt to ruin her reputation. Her brutish husband wants to find her now that she is in the spotlight, and Labella is now in love with her. The book brims with period authenticity and flows along at a very assured pace. Alessandra's personality, proud, imperious, permeates the whole narrative, and Schumacher handles the complexity of her supernatural gifts very intelligently, including a series of thrillingly done seance performances. This book is utterly absorbing, and it's a very, very highly recommended from him. Okay, well, I like all of that. Actually, I love the fact that it sounds so like it will just grip you by the lapels and sweep you through the novel. I love a book that does that. I also think that the themes are very relevant, which I also quite like. I don't like it when it's like hammered over the head, like you're like, this is my theme and we are relevant. No, but I do like it when there is this connection to the current day. And I think any kind of like media circus and like taking somebody down through the media, through the way that they're being reported on, is an extremely relevant theme. So I'm excited for that. All right, so those are the 7 books. Let me know. How many points did you get? Would love to know. Mostly thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you. I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.